Thank.
「
All right, it's October 22nd, and we're all here. So, Bill, how you doing tonight?
All right, what's going
Looking
on?
dapper tonight. Did you go to something where you had to dress up nice?
Yeah, we have service tonight,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, I'm coming.
Louisa,
Just barely
you
made it.
look a mess. What have you been doing?
I was laying down, almost asleep.
Do
I
you?
had I had
You
to
told
brush
me
my
before we
hair.
started that her she thought her hair was all messed up because she had been laying down or something, and I made
Yeah,
you brush her hair.
I
So that's
was I
why it's an
was
inside joke. You got to come before we start, Bill,
but
to hear the
I was
inside
reading to
stuff.
my grandson and almost fell asleep. And then it was like, oh my gosh, gotta get up.
So I have my Union Township Dora cup full of vodka.
Did you walk home with that?
I
Yeah,
know, but we're working a
get him,
plan. Not to go. I
Robin.
want to go on a tangent, and then we'll get to the meat of tonight.
Get him, Robin. You get him, Robin. Robin's nailing you in the comments.
We're working on a plan. I got it outlined where we can make the Brandonmore neighborhood a Dora. We're going to have to put through a path from one of my neighbor's yards into Kroger's parking lot, and we're going to have the Beachmont Racket Club be part of the Dora and the Olive Garden. But we got it mapped out. It fits the number of acres, and I'm ready to work up the proposal and the paperwork for it. So it's going to be awesome. Now,
Awesome.
tonight we are here. We're going to do what we put out as hot takes. So hot takes on different topics, and we have four big topics. The Trisha Lambeck trial is tomorrow, and we can talk some about that and what it is, even if you don't know. And then this one's on here because of Louisa wanting something. Where's Fraley and other leaders? So she'll lead us off in that. And Crooked Clark. This relates to Tekulve. We'll talk about that. And then issue one is something Bill wanted on the list, so we'll talk about that. And one thing we might talk about it, but we won't have it because I just remember before the call I forgot to make the video clip of an excerpt of Greg Simpson lying to the CCSO. So that'll have to wait till next week to have any sort of kind of closing highlight reel. But maybe we can reenact it when we get there. We can reenact some of the lies, like, "Am I under arrest?"
I'll tell you what, Louisa, you be the female investigator. I'll be the male that comes in the room. Chris, you be Greg Simpson.
I can be Greg Simpson.
Yes.
This is perfect. This would be perfect if we could pull this off. It will be fantastic. Now, while we're talking about other shit, you got to try to remember what it was that went on in that interview, and I'm sure you guys both watched it. So let's get into the first thing, and I kind of put this on here because I thought that more than one of us might want to talk about the Trish Lambeck trial. So just so people might not know, well, Louisa, why don't you briefly describe who is Trish Lambeck, what is the trial, and why?
Okay. So Miss Lambeck is a Goshen Township precinct representative. And back in February of this year, we had a meeting where Miss Patricia Lambeck was a little agitated by what was going on in the meeting. And there was an altercation between her and another member by the name of Tina Tolan. And she headbutted Tina Tolan, and she got arrested for it. And there's a protection order in place. And we are now having a trial tomorrow. That is kind of the short version of it without the gory details in the middle.
And why don't you, like, one of the things is this is near and dear to your heart. It's near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely.
I believe you're the only one of the three of us that was at this actual meeting.
No, Bill
I
Thomas
was there.
Oh, you were there? Okay. I wasn't there. I was on the land.
I've got a whole thing about this. It was completely screwed up because she should have never been behind the table to begin with. Magda had to leave early, and she asked me to come and step in and help April Sloan do teller committee. Well, that whole thing got nasty. I had people coming up getting nasty. What's her name?
Well, hold on just for a second. There was a vote at this meeting to basically remove Jeff Corcoran.
Correct. Yeah.
And so he had left. They're counting the votes or something. And there's people might not know what teller committee means. Those are the people that count the votes in a meeting. And apparently, when that vote counting was happening, all hell broke loose at some point. You're like a full-on melee. Everybody punching each other. No.
No. Miss Patricia. So I approached the table to put my pen in the pen holder, and Tammy Brinkman, who's another lady that is in the teller committee, said, we don't want people standing around here. And I said, no, that's fine. I just want to put my pen in here. And I walked across, and Miss Lambeck called me a bitch. And she told me to sit down. So I said, oh, conservative much? I said, well, I don't have time for you. So I walked away. And when I walked away, I had expressed to Tina Tolan her behavior. And Tina was very upset by the matter and had a conversation with Patricia Lambeck. And it was at this point in time, Patricia Lambeck was sitting down at the desk on the other side counting votes.
Right.
Tolan was on this side. Patricia Lambeck got up and head-butted Tina Tolan. There were two witnesses. There was Tammy Brink.
So the trial's tomorrow. I think the key points is, some of the key points I know. I'm going to go to it. I have submitted a media request to film it. It's a visiting judge, and people that have listened to us before know our love for visiting judges. And it's a special prosecutor from Adams County. And I think probably, Louisa, you're a witness, so I would say not that, maybe not say as much as Bill and I might at this point but it just has the smell of rigged. Oh, yeah, and the other thing is Jeff Corcoran represented the person that committed the assault when she got arraigned or whatever. And then, but now super lawyer Scott Croswell is representing this person in a precinct assault thing, which basically also smells to me. This is just my commentary. I was not in the meeting. I don't know what happened, but it just reeks of rig because Scott Croswell is known. Scott Croswell was the same guy that was the lawyer for Jesse Kramig.
Let's talk about the links here. You've got Jeff Corcoran that shows up for the bond hearing, represents Trish Lambeck immediately, most likely free of charge, unless services rendered.
Well, it was free of charge.
Your services rendered on his behalf.
Yeah. It was free of charge because he loves Patricia Lambeck.
Well, I think we read between the lines there. So next, you have Scott Croswell that had a conversation with Tina Tolan about the incident, and then turned and represent, which is, in my opinion, a bar complaint. When you talk to an attorney over the phone, in person, whatever, about any case,
yes,
that is attorney-client privilege. Scott Croswell crossed the veil there by representing Trish Lambeck, and these guys, they just think they can get away with it. They just think
that's a funny thing. In all this stuff, it's like they don't even care about the appearance of impropriety. It just doesn't matter.
No.
Right.
And we'll see what happens, and I'll try to video it. We'll see if I've been told that I'm not going to have any issues with videoing it, but we'll see what happens. And it just smacks of backroom deal rigged, typical.
Well, let me tell you the backroom deal right now, and I can't talk a lot about it because, this case is an investigation. I just wanted to say that. I just thought that was funny.
That is funny.
But anyway,
none of us can give legal advice. Let's make sure we're aware of that.
No legal advice.
And I can't give legal advice.
So the case was continued the first time round in June because I had to be out of town. And then it was continued, and it was continued the second time because unfortunately Tina Tolan ended up with pneumonia and in the hospital, so it was continued again. The first time I was never subpoenaed. I was subpoenaed after the fact that I said, hey, I can't be in town. Okay. And then I got subpoenaed after the fact. I told them I couldn't be in town. Then this time round, neither myself or Tina Tolan have been subpoenaed for tomorrow. So I reached out to Mr. Cantrell, who is the prosecutor for Adams County, because I'm like, we haven't been subpoenaed. And I never got hold of him. I got a phone call from a lady today by the name of Diana. And she said, not to worry. The only important people to be there tomorrow is Louisa McQueen and Tina Tolan. That is all we need. We don't even need the witnesses. That's what she said to me. We don't need any witnesses. And I said, excuse me? She said, no, we don't need anybody. I said, but I did not witness the assault. She said, it doesn't matter. It's only you and Tina Tolan that we need there. Mr. Kentrow doesn't need anybody else.
Well,
So that's where we're at right now.
and you told me that there's some other witnesses, and I think that we'll see what they testify, because they'll testify. How do I say this in a correct, non-abrasive way? Either truthfully or to protect the party. One of the two.
Well, so yes, here's a problem I have with subpoenas. Okay, let's just talk a little bit about it. So I said to the lady, so can you please explain to me, how do you know that we haven't been subpoenaed and the other witnesses haven't been subpoenaed? And she said, because I get a notification from the court. And I said, well, when did this go out? She said, well, it went out 2 weeks ago. I said, so you haven't got a notification from the court that anyone's been subpoenaed? And she said, no. But you know what? I know someone else that has been subpoenaed and they will be there tomorrow, but I can't talk much about this.
Okay, well, so it's tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the municipal courthouse. So if you want to come see it, it'd be good to see the unbelievable justice system at work. Maybe it'll be fantastic. And I just hope that the facts get told. And I wasn't at this meeting, but I've had these people tell me what happened, and I've asked some of the people that you've talked about that I know would be witnesses what happened. I know what they told me, and I'll be interested to see what they say, and I'll be interested in the Scott Croswell magic that seems to make things go away. And I wanted to, before we move on to another topic, I want to throw this up here. Is that this is the thing too about this meeting. And so this was the Channel 9 report, because this was also the meeting. I was not at the meeting because this is where, in partnership with the NAACP of Cincinnati, David Painter and Jeff Corcoran were labeling me as racist because I described and put a picture on my Facebook that what was happening in the court was like what Clarence Thomas said, a modern high-tech lynching. And so I was supposedly racist, all this kind of stuff. And I actually zoomed this forward, Louise, and just froze it here. But you actually appeared in an interview that night. So this was before, and look who else was with you. Tina Tolan was part of the interview as well. And then she gets assaulted, we're kind of off to the races. So I just wanted to share that because there's a context here, is that there was this meeting where I was supposedly the racist. I wasn't there because I was afraid of getting my ass beat or arrested by Prosecutor Tekulve and not the sheriff, but any of that. So there's all this backdrop to it. But the irony is, you two were the ones that appeared on camera talking about the dysfunction of the Clermont GOP, and that's not a popular thing to do. Although what you said was entirely true. And you actually couched it. If people go back and watch that, if you search on Channel 9, It's Chaos, Clermont GOP, it actually, you guys are not, you're equal opportunity offenders on me. That, so you don't say you're like, you describe me as part of the problem also, right? So it's not just, Jeff Corcoran's bad and you weren't like a Chris Hicks person. You were basically just talking about the complete dysfunction of the organization and lack of focus on anything that mattered. Okay? Any other points that either of you want to make about this?
I just want to add that I'm still in awe today that we are still doing this, and Patricia Lambeck is still a member of the Central Committee. I cannot believe we have had a
you left out left out that Jeff Corcoran then announced in the next meeting, when people thought it was improper for him to represent one committee member against another committee member who had assaulted. And he said that he would represent, you could correct the language, but I think something to the effect of he would represent whoever he wanted, and he would represent people he liked. And obviously somebody who assaults somebody for Jeff Corcoran is somebody that Jeff Corcoran likes.
Well, and then he told me that, and I said, so you don't think it's a conflict of interest? And he goes, no, I will only represent people I like, and I don't like you. That's exactly what he said.
And that's why I've encouraged you very strongly to just go in and assault somebody in a meeting so you can get on the good graces
of Jeff Corcoran.
Yeah. How about we let you do that?
I'll get my ass kicked, so I don't, it's just be interesting. I'm not going to say anything. So, and I haven't come to a couple of meetings, but I don't think I'm restricted from coming to meetings. So, just so they know that.
And
they're probably thinking I'm like scared to come to meetings or something.
And then people want to wonder why people don't show up for meetings. Well, this is exactly one of the reasons why people don't show up. All right, because we have physical assaults and nothing gets done.
And you have, for political reasons, and this to me screams rhino, is that these guys go out and somehow have this like partnership with the Cincinnati NAACP to label me racist all over the place, which I think I am a completely non-racist person, and but it served a political goal of Jeff Corcoran, because if you remember that same meeting, I'm having a moment of clarity, I got censured again, even though I'm suspended. The censure was, if I didn't resign, more bad things were going to happen to me. That was basically the resign or else was the censure that I received. All right, Bill, do you have anything else to say about this one before we move on?
No, I think we were good on that, other than the fact that it's complete injustice. Any attorneys watching, you should be disgusted by Scott Croswell's behavior. You guys took an oath, client-attorney privilege. Our sitting prosecutor took an oath. I guess it just doesn't mean anything. You consult with a client and you discuss something with them, that is proprietary information. You don't represent opposing counsel. You're a disgusting attorney if you do that.
All right.
Absolutely.
So now, Louisa, you asked for this, where's Fraley? In particular, you said Fraley, okay? And then I put other leaders. So I thought, I didn't really know your overall point that you wanted to hit in a hot take, but I think it has to do with the leadership and where is the leadership at some time. So why don't you get into why did you want a topic called Where's Fraley or something to that effect?
Because Fraley was all over the place on Wednesday night at our meeting. So Linda Fraley, our auditor, asked to talk to the committee on Wednesday night, and she got up there and gave a very heartfelt speech about how we need to come together and we need to support our candidates and we need to support our officials. And, the fundraiser that we just had, we should have had more people, that we just, we really need to come together. I mean, this is just terrible that we just not in this together. Okay, Ms. Fraley, where have you been? Because I know that I have been to a lot of the fundraisers that candidates have held, especially the ones that have been held in Mount Orb at La Rosa's. And I've only seen you there once. And people that don't know, the only person that you showed up for was, imagine this, Mr. David Taylor. Well, surprise. We only showed up for David Taylor. What about Terry Johnson? What about Adam Byrd? What about Gene Schmidt?
It's very common that I haven't done a lot this year. Well, I only did 2 actually this year, but a shitload of honking waves. And almost none of these elected officials ever come to a honking wave. I'm trying to remember, one of them did, one time. But, it's like, they don't come to this stuff. They don't go to Trump events. They don't go, they're very selective. And when it serves I think a lot of times it serves their particular interest. By the way, real quick here, there was a comment. I wasn't looking at the comments about who's the visiting judge. It's the visiting judge is Thomas Hanna. So.
Oh, he's my favorite judge. He's the one who let me off on the speeding ticket.
So we'll see what he does. But okay, back to this.
I just want to say something about Linda Fraley getting up there. We had a discussion. I don't know if everybody remembers, or was that in private, where you said this is how the Linda Fraley speech is going to go. And
did I send a text or something? I sent a text or something.
You said it to me.
Oh, I'm not coming to the meeting tonight, but here's the way the speech is going to go.
You told me,
and it was dead on.
Crying starts at the end. How I'm being.
You know what? When she started her crying.
Were you at the meeting, Bill?
No.
I just everybody that's told me about it. It was
exactly what I said.
It's exactly. I said you guys really make Chris Hicks look good when you guys do stupid things. Yeah, I always say that to people.
I couldn't believe it. I thought Chris was right. There she goes.
I gave you an outline of the speech almost, didn't I, Louisa? This is how it's going to go.
You know what?
Gotta come together.
You could write the book, Linda Fraley for Dummies.
You know what?
Yes.
I hate to say it. I hate to say this, okay? I hate to say this, but it's almost like a Kamala Harris. When Kamala brought out her woman violin and cried about it when she did the Trump debate, it's almost the same that Linda Fraley does. You know what? I'm tired of it. You know what? Put on your big gold panties and do your job. And if you're going to stand there in front and reprimand everybody for not doing their job, not putting signs out, which
a lot of it always.
Miss Linda Fraley, hold on. I'm talking.
My
yeah.
wife says
Hold
I
on,
you too
I'm
much.
talking. Miss Linda Fraley, you don't even have a flag in your yard, never mind a yard sign. So don't be telling everybody else to come together and put signs out and do this and do that when you leaders up there don't do nothing. Thank you.
So Bill, if I just mute her, does that count as interrupting, or is that?
Yeah, I think okay, you might be sleeping on the couch.
Okay, so any event, but it's very common that a lot of these people, and you saw it in the yard signs when you guys did the yard sign thing, where they have their own, like Alan Freeman, he has his own yard sign. You know, like
I'm still catching.
They're all about themselves. They're not about like the overall team. And I've said this many times: none of these politicians will risk their own political position to really solve a problem. That's why you don't see anyone get involved with the effed up school systems, right? Because they're afraid of touching that electric, what do you call that? Like the third rail on a subway. And so they all like kind of just, it's a lot of self-preservation. It's a good reason why you don't want elected officials in party leadership.
It is. And I think there's a part of the Linda Fraley story that's the most important part that's missing.
What's that?
So I'm probably going to get my hand slapped for this, but I don't care. James Kidwell called Linda Fraley about 2-3 weeks ago. It was before we bought rebar to put all the Bernie signs up, Bernie Marino signs. And he said to her, hey, you know, because she's still mad at him over Painter being chair. Linda Fraley, if you go astray from the Linda Fraley plan, you're excommunicated from the circle.
Okay.
So Linda Fraley said, no, those are my steel bars. You can't use them. She refused to let James Kidwell use sign posts for Bernie Marino, a U.S. Senate candidate. How can that woman get up there and say we need to unify when she holds grudges against people? So we had to go buy rebar, and James cut the rebar, and Luis and I went out and put the signs out because Josh Barnes never got the signs out after 3 times saying he was going to put them out. I had to go back down there and get the rest of the signs and get them out. Thankfully, Jeannie Zermely got some out, and I'm missing some.
But back in the day, not to go, we want to come back and get back on the topic, but you know, Joe Braun and the team, I never had privy to it because I was hated from day one. But they had some barn somewhere that was full of, like in Miami Township, that was supposedly full of T-posts for signs. And so they would just bust those out every season. Yeah. But Joe Braun was supposedly like the keeper of the keys to the barn or something in there. So I wonder where that went, because Joe Braun is kind of
they own the stuff. It really, they act like they own the stuff. And so we all know that these elected officials watch. We know that. So Linda Fraley, when you watch this, straight up, you're pathetic, and you're so childish to tell somebody they can't use the signs. And then you had the nerve to show up, come back at La Rosa's to the VIP area supporting Bernie Marino. You really
was Linda at the Bernie Marino event at the headquarters?
She came and she sat back in the special seating area yesterday.
You know what? I need to respond to Robin. Robin is right. Fraley had a Pink for Woman Trump shirt that she showed up after her long speech. Look, I've even got, a T-shirt. You know what? Maybe you should put a sign in your yard, Linda, because not everybody can see your T-shirt. Right. And some people might actually see your sign. Maybe.
By the way, I just saw this comment too about political folks don't retire like Linda Fraley should have, but let's all just keep in mind that Joe Biden is stepping down for the good of the country. He's retiring because but one last point I want to make on this is that I think this is why, those of you, and we got to get rolling again, but on this, get a new constitution and governance ready for the Clermont GOP, is to have a limit on how many times you can be endorsed for the same office.
Absolutely.
Because these people they're such phonies. Yep. So I'm sure you could probably get Linda Fraley somewhere saying she stands for term limits. They just say the opportunistic expedient thing or shed the tears when they need to. And it just, to me, I'm speaking only for me, but it's also disingenuous.
You know what? Maybe when she retires, we can give her a above and beyond trophy.
Above and beyond award. So, okay. So the next thing on here now, you guys are like, when I hit this, you're like, who the hell is this? What's going on? Crooked Clark.
Yeah.
So that's Ravert J. Clark, okay, on the chart there. And he is the special prosecutor for, I had a PCA against Mark Tekulve, claiming that Mark Tekulve investigated.
PCA. Please define PCA.
I'm sorry, quit interrupting me. My wife never. Is claiming that my wife's that I had a PCA against Haddad, which was over whether he was a member of the Republican Party or not. And I'll be very simplistic here, because the judge said that only 158 people on the list were members of the Republican Party, and Haddad filled out his petition that he was a member of the Republican Party. So I was trying to illustrate that to get a determination, was he or wasn't he? Because if he was a member of the Republican Party, then what Judge Hines said was wrong. And if he wasn't, then I'm wrong, okay? But I wasn't wrong. So that all got kerfuffled, where Mark Tekulve did the investigation of the PCA when he is not legally allowed to do so. He is the statutory counsel for Haddad. Then he engaged in a thing where he tricked these guys into appointing a special prosecutor to come after me for that I was guilty of felony fraud or something as part of filing a PCA, and at the same time to whitewash the Greg Simpson thing, blah blah blah. And then there's like notes and all this stuff of like wherever Jeff Corcoran is trying to get me or get me arrested, Mark Tekulve's right there, like sending emails, getting copied on emails about how we got to get him. And so my PCA relating to Mark Tekulve was that he's trying to intimidate me, okay? And he's seeking retribution on me for things like getting Jesse Cramming out of office, exposing that he was covering up the embezzlement at the Clermont Senior Services, et cetera, et cetera. So Ravert J. Clark has filed his report when for 3 months he couldn't get anything done, couldn't do it. He miraculously does the report like in a day. And when he did the report, and then I'll kind of get to the point where we can talk about Mark Tekulve, because I know I'm hitting you guys with stuff, is he never bothered to interview anybody. Nobody. Zero. None. Didn't interview the sheriff, didn't interview the Batavia Police Department, didn't interview Haddad, didn't interview Hine. And I made allegations about that Tekulve had tricked these judges. He interviewed 0 people. And so the point is, and then he totally lies about me. It's another, like, if you read the Moser thing on me, it's just like, oh, my job is to write a paper that's about how Chris Hicks is evil, okay? And it's not as bad as, but these people do not care. And Judge Haddad should be embarrassed as the administrative judge and the other judges in common place. They don't even care about making it look like it was honest, right? I knew that he had not interviewed the sheriff in Stratton. So I'm asking, like, don't you need to interview him? Just ignores it. Doesn't even try to make it look legit. And that's the same way that happens a lot of these court things. I don't know what happens. Thank God I've never been involved in, a real, a normal criminal type thing or something like that in court. I don't know what it's like then for people. But my impression, based on how anything that involves politics gets handled, it is totally corrupt. And it is totally rigged. And they don't even care. They could care less about it looking crooked as hell. So that's kind of my diatribe, guys, and that's why I wanted it on there. But it all ties back to, I could ask you guys, like, would you guess that that there are people like Tekulve that want to intimidate me, want me to go away, want to harass me, want to. So, I don't know what I never asked you guys your reaction to that.
Chris, can you explain to the people out there what a PCA is, please?
Oh, a PCA is called a private citizen affidavit, and it's a thing you can file that is a citizen saying that there is a crime being committed, but because of the nature of the crime, the system is covering it up. Okay. And so a great example, if I give the most obvious for people to understand example, would be, let's say that you were the spouse of the sheriff. and the sheriff or the spouse of the prosecutor. Let's see, that would be an even better example. You're the spouse of the prosecutor, and the prosecutor keeps committing domestic violence against you, but the sheriff won't arrest him or do anything because he's politically connected. So the political system is covering up the crime. Okay. So it's a way for somebody to go around that to a judge. It's supposed to clear the runway to have a legit investigation. But Bill, you've done some of these. I've done some of these. I have a decent amount of the case law associated with them. You know, but they are.
My PCA was against.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the one of the PCAs
I know
was against you,
but well, the problem with we can have another discussion.
They don't do anything.
Your PCA. You should have asked me about it. It didn't actually allege within it an actual criminal violation.
But let me explain.
No,
I thought it was.
So that's I could have helped you write that better. And the thing you had something in there about a postal thing that's a federal thing. It can't be done in county court. And but any event, the point is, though, I had one PCA that actually worked, and that was the one that was Ubel on his first thing where he had petition fraud. And even then, it wasn't actually, they never actually said the PCA worked, but as a result of the PCA, they ended up doing the charges, right? You know, but then it's like but it never would have happened if it weren't for my PCA. But what happens is this vehicle that is good, it is a good right of a citizen to be able to do this. The system covers them up. Would you agree with that? But like the system is preordained that there's going to be a visiting judge and some sort of prosecutor that's going to protect the insiders, and that's just the way it's going to be.
They didn't even know until you started with. They didn't even know how to process PCA.
So do you know that if you file, and Bill Thomas can testify to this, because this is the information that he gave me, which I was not aware of. So I filed 2 PCAs, one against Goshen Police Department and one against our sheriff. And they were dismissed. They went to Warren County. Both of them did. There were no findings. The same thing with yours. You know, I didn't even get a report, actually. And I didn't even get a letter from our county prosecutor stating that it had been dismissed. I still haven't got any documentation.
Right.
If you file a PCA against a law enforcement, they can turn around and criminally charge you.
It's totally bastardized. It is totally bastardized. And by the way, I just want to be clear. I was only speaking hypothetically that I've actually never helped anybody with a PCA. I've only done my own PCAs. So, but I just want to be clear because somebody will be coming after me because I said you should have let me look at it before you. Because that's how bastardized the system is.
You're an attorney, aren't you, right?
Citizens accused of being basically get, it's just bullshit. It is bullshit that these things. So that's why I wanted to put it on there. So I appreciate you guys humoring me with it. And, the notion of, it's kind of predictable that they're not treated fairly. Unfortunately, that's kind of predictable. And
I want to know is, instead of going to our neighboring county prosecutors, which I'm pretty sure there's some connection to our county prosecutor, why can we, when we are filing a private citizen affidavit, why can we not request that there is, say, for example, a prosecutor from Columbus that takes a look at it, where there is absolutely no bias? Why?
No connection, right? They forum shop. By the way, here's another term: is forum shopped. Okay, so forum shop means, and whenever there's a visiting judge or there's these special prosecutors, if you think they're just picked for their fairness, their insightfulness, their investigatory skills, I got some real estate to sell you, a bridge to sell you somewhere, because they are what's called forum shopped, where the prosecutor here picks somebody he knows is going to adjudicate things the way that he wants. And they don't even hide it anymore. They don't even hide that now, at least on this case, here, the funny part about this case is this guy, Ravert Clark, who was this special prosecutor, he's normally a defense attorney. Doesn't work for any prosecutor office, no experience with PCAs, did the work for free. Okay. And, and I went and checked, and as far as I can tell, this is the first time ever on a political thing that a attorney that doesn't work for the AG's office or another prosecutor's office has been charged with doing the investigation. First time ever. Okay. And who is it? And by the way, who personally picked the attorney to investigate Mark Tekulve? Take a guess. Who personally picked the attorney to do the investigation of Mark Tekulve? His name starts with Mark. And his last name is Tekulve. Mark Tekulve personally picked the attorney to investigate Mark Tekulve. This is a right all citizens should have. That if I get arrested for something, I get to pick the attorney to investigate me. I get to pick, I can pick, I want to deputize Louisa McQueen.
This is disgusting.
Law enforcement investigation.
This is disgusting. We need to take, in municipal court, there's this huge painting of Lady of Justice. We need to take her out because these people are an embarrassment. They spit on Lady of Justice.
I want to make one other point, and I don't want to move us on just so we're not too long. I know we're going on, but so there's a thing called Marsy's Law, and there's rules under Marsy's Law when you're a victim, okay? And so this Ravert Clark guy refused to talk to me ultimately, okay? So first it was like he's going to talk to me. When I get a few minutes, I'll talk to you. And I'm like, I actually want to have a sit down and go through this. They don't want this because if they actually do that, first off, I'm going to want it to be recorded. Second off, they're not going to be able to then have bullshit reports like this because they're going to, have somebody that can chapter and verse the facts, and bring the receipts in a discussion. So I asserted my Marsy's Law rights. So he races to get this thing out while right now it's at the appeals court whether I have Marsy's Law rights. And one of your Marsy's Law rights is to confer with the prosecutor. Okay. And so to make it worse, I get a thing back from the court that, I didn't do my Marsy's Law filing right. I need to do like these 3 other forms and I have to have 8 copies. The problem with that is I've done a Marsy's Law filing before and not been told the same thing. It is so rigged. It is so rigged. I asked like 3 days ago, the administrator for the appeals court, can you show me? Because I did one of these in 2019 and these were the rules. I don't see anything on your website that has different rules. What changed? So the other thing is you could be, and I like to paint this picture. You could be a woman, and I don't need to be whatever sexist or whatever, but let's just the image of a woman that's being domestic violence like crazy. And imagine the same scenario that the person assigned to investigate her PCA won't talk to her, okay? Doesn't interview anybody, okay? When she asserts her rights to confer with the prosecutor, the appeals court gives her the runaround. That I don't know if that happens in those cases, but it certainly happened in this case. And these people set these precedents. It's basically, ultimately, it's what Dan Bongino says. And you guys might have heard me say this, but as Dan Bongino says, all these politicians hate you. They act like they like you. And at election time, they talk about the Constitution, and how they want to kiss your baby and how they're going to do everything right and transparent. But once they're in, they hate you. And if you just appreciate that they hate you, you'll get along a lot better understanding why they behave. So I apologize for going on and on about it. The next one on here is issue 1. So Bill, This is what you wanted to talk about in particular. So, why don't you tell, give us the rundown of issue 1 and what your concerns are about issue 1.
Well, the big concern I have is that G.I. Jane is going around at the polls
you took that name
falsely
from me.
telling people she's going around and telling people that that we need to get rid of issue 1.
I don't even know who G.I. Jane is. So
Jen Masson Kelly. She is.
Yeah, tell them who that is, Louisa, because
Jen Masson Kelly is running for commissioner against David Painter. And I met her last week, Monday, at the BOE, at the Board of Elections. I was standing out there, and she gave me a little flyer, and she told me who she was. And she looks way out there. I mean, she has shaved her head. She looks like G.I. Jane. And
like Bill's haircut?
Yeah, but she's female, I think. unless she
No,
identifies
she
differently.
didn't bother going to a professional like me. She just did it herself.
Okay.
And she starts to tell me about issue 1 and about running for commissioner. And I said, oh, hold your breath. I've already voted. And I'm a true conservative and a Republican. So you're wasting your time with me. But you know what? It was nice knowing you. Have a nice day. And I walked away. But man, this woman is out there. I don't know what is. Look, all I have to say is you can see they took the COVID shot because the side effects are starting to show.
So, okay. So, and then what's the issue 1 thing?
Let me go
I might be zoning here, but what's the?
Yeah. So there's the issue on the ballot, and this is going to be the last time that these issues, because the problem is every election there's an issue 1. So like one time we're voting yes, next time we're voting no on issue 1. Now we're voting no again on issue 1, and people can't keep up. And I bet you half the people don't even know what they're voting for. So the issue 1 is it's a bait and switch scam. So the Democrats, I should say liberals, because a lot of Democrats aren't even supporting this. Under the claim of ending gerrymandering, the amendment will force political and racial gerrymandering of legislative districts. Man, I can't talk. The amendment requires proportional representation in legislative districts, meaning the partisan numbers in Congress and the General Assembly should mirror statewide voter percentage for Republican and Democrats. By definition, the Citizens Commission will be required under the amendment to politically and racially gerrymander districts to meet proportionality. Now, keep in mind, this committee that will be formed, they're not elected officials. This is just a Citizens Commission. So you got to hope that the citizens that are a part of this commission know what's going on. And it's a bald-faced lie to say the amendment stops gerrymandering. Because here's the thing. Back in 2015 and 2018, the requirement to preserve county, municipal, and township boundaries supersedes by proportional representation. So there's several rules here. It removes the requirement for compact districts, meaning there will be districts that stretch over long distances through multiple counties and other subdivisions. So here's an example. Jim Jordan's district. This is the one that the libs love to bring up. Jim Jordan's district was very irregularly shaped, and it would go up and include like a minority district. But now, I'm sorry, a more red district. Now what they've done is it's now, if you look at his new district, it's more squared off and it's more proportional. It doesn't look at, okay, you need to include more of a certain race in your district. So this whole thing with issue 1 that the Dems are trying to push through, it's their ability to try to take a supermajority away from the Republicans. The Republicans currently have 67 House seats, and I believe after this election we're anticipating 65, which is still a supermajority. Here's the problem. If we lose our supermajority, we're not really concerned about what the Democrats, this is the stupidity of the state of Ohio. We're not really concerned about what the Democrats are going to do if we lose the supermajority. We're actually concerned what our freaking governor is going to do, because the governor overstepped his bounds during COVID. The House got together, passed a bill. He vetoed it. But with a supermajority, if you get everybody on the same page, we can override the veto. So us having a supermajority really isn't because we're worried about Democrats. We're actually worried about a rhino governor.
I think that so I'm absolutely voting no on issue 1, and I encourage everybody to vote no on issue 1. I will also say that, and you guys know how I say this, is that I watched the commission hearings for the redistricting, and Matt Huffman came off like a complete ass the entire time. And so that Democrat woman and Charles, what's the black guy, the Senate leader, Democrat, but the 2 Democrats actually looked like sane and rational, and the Republicans looked like. And then when they had the mappers, here's my point. We didn't get 10-year maps like we're supposed to get. We didn't get this and that, and we created this issue. And I think some of these issues, these people that are Republicans but are not really conservatives, they're not doing a lot of conservative shit, they're the ones that create these situations that then end up biting us in the ass, like issue 1. Like by being, frankly, they should have let those mapper guys, anybody that knows, they brought in these professional mappers from a liberal and a conservative from 2 different universities. They locked them in a room. Matt Huffman actually restricted their access to the staff. And the Republican mapper is the one that blew his gasket about it. He's like, we couldn't get questions answered because Matt Huffman was keeping the staff out of the room because they'd have questions like, can we separate a village that's on 2 counties into 2 districts? Because there's a whole bunch of laws about all this, like how they can do the map and how they can position things. But my whole point about all this is, and I get, what you're saying, Bill, the supermajority and everything, but we have a Republican caucus in the Ohio House and the Senate that largely suck. And I monitor because of in Florida, things like mask mandates, vaccine mandates, no boys and girls sports. In Florida, they just do this shit and it gets done. It gets signed by the governor and we don't even get the bills. It's like this constant kabuki theater that we're going to have a bill and this shit never gets done. So on one hand, I'm totally against issue 1, but actually I have no problem with there being more competition because I think right now the way it works, we've got too many rhino Republicans. Tom Brinkman used to tell me the actual conservative Republicans in the House, you could count on like one hand, that it was so infested with rhinos. It's almost impossible for any outsider to ever win in any district or any seat. And so it's a preservation society. But issue 1, is permanently locks in the Constitution a method for doing redistricting. That the biggest thing is, I think about it, is the unknowns. Somebody that voted early told me, have either of you voted early?
Yes.
Okay. So somebody that voted early told me that, if and election day, if people stop to read the ballot language on issue 1, it's going to be a slow day because they said like it's a whole page of this ballot or something. It's like a huge amount of writing. That's the ballot thing for issue 1. So if you actually stopped and read the thing while you're voting, it's going to take a long time to vote. So that's one of the potential reasons to vote early.
Well, as we see in every situation, we see it here in Clermont County, we see it national, we see it state. The Republican Party eats itself alive. It goes back to something Matt Miller-Novak said to me a long time ago. He said that Clermont County is like Lord of the Flies.
Yep.
I mean, we eat our own. And the stupidity about all of the House being divided between the Jason Stevens and the entire Republican caucus in the House was divided, and they had the blue 22, the other side of it. It really prevents us from legislating for putting in conservative legislation.
Well,
it keeps
remember,
Ohio from being
2 speakers in a row became speaker because of the Democrats, not because of the Republicans. Householder, same way.
Right.
So 2 speakers in a row
they're Mitt Romney Republican
because they got a part of the Republican caucus and the entire Democrat caucus, and that put them over the top.
So you look at Adam Byrd, who stood up and said, I'm going to do something about this. We're going to get rid of some of these rhino Republicans. He supported, I don't remember their names, but he supported 2 people on the ballot that were running against the rhino Republicans. Yeah. And you know what happened to him? He got over the education committee. Boom. He got taken off education. He got
as total. Yeah. You actually, if you behave like an actual conservative, which in that matter he was, you actually get penalized. And
you do. And the fact that the Speaker of the House has that much power, that is a dictatorship. How is we as a democracy in the way we vote? How have we designed our political system to allow one person to control that, have that much power to control things? Blows me away. The system is collapsing on itself the way it is. You won't get anybody to fight that. You won't get Gene Schmidt's not going to fight that. I asked her. I said, why don't you go to the House and change it? You guys have the power to change the way it works.
You remember in the Union Township meeting, I don't know if you were there, she basically said she voted for Stevens for Speaker because a Hamilton County donor told her to, and that, she got a committee appointment out of it. It's like, none of them will sacrifice. It's all about them, and it's So vote no on issue 1.
Can I talk
Don't
a little
listen
bit
to whoever
about
this
issue?
person is. You're telling me not to early vote because I might encounter this person down there if I went?
Oh, you will. You'll definitely encounter her. So issue 1, I'd like to talk a little bit about issues. My problem is when it comes to Republicans, we always seem to be lost to the issues. Every time an issue comes up, we always get told by our state representatives, I think, way too late in the game. I mean, we just had Jonathan, and I'm not, Chris, you can help me out. Jonathan, that was at our meeting.
Jonathan is at your meeting not because he gives a rat's ass about issue 1, it's because he's running for treasurer and he's using issue 1 to get visibility.
Right, but he did not say that. And my question to Jonathan on Wednesday, when he went on about issue 1, was, why are you here now? We are 2.5 weeks away from the general election. Why are you here now talking about issue 1? Shouldn't you have been here 2 months ago?
Correct.
And he couldn't answer it.
Well, if you go, and I want to move on here because we're getting late.
Because they set us up to fail.
Well, and all the issues we've had recently, it's like the people that designed the campaigns were for Republicans to fail. And even this issue 1 now, if you go read that fact sheet on it, the fact sheet never tells you how to vote. It never says vote no. And it's a lot of stuff like your Republican, Ohio Republican Party, shit that would make people start dry heaving in their mouths and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like the people that brought you Larry Householder and all this stuff now have this preachy thing telling you how they're the ones going to stop, you know, unethical gerrymandering. It's like, it's just so, you know, and you don't realize you need that material to not, it's kind of like the mailer the party's going to do. Material that preaches to the already on your team isn't going to get you more people on the team. You need to figure out what's the messages that get the people who are in the middle to come over to your team. And so any event, all right. So just so because we're kind of here, since I didn't have the Greg Simpson thing, let's go real quick before we do that. Let's do the if there's any comments here that we want to hit on. You know, I saw somebody asking why I don't go to meetings. Sometimes because I got stuff to do, and sometimes because there's nothing on the agenda. It's like there's just a waste of time. Okay.
I didn't think you're allowed to.
They think I'm not allowed to go to meetings, and they probably think I'm not coming because I think I'm not allowed to go to meetings. But I just want to make sure when they're listening at 3:00 in the morning, I don't believe that. Okay. And so I will make my dramatic return at the right moment. And so Mark Tekulve and all these people can be ready to get me arrested and see what happens. Okay. You know, in there. So the funny thing is about it is, this is my joke on this whole deal is that, remember, they do say that I'm allowed to vote if a county elected official needs to get replaced because somebody has to resign office in disgrace. So that's kind of giving me a bogey. Like between now and the end of the term, if nothing else changes, there needs to be a county official that has to resign from office in disgrace, so I get a chance to vote one more time this term. So be careful what you wish for. All the elected officials out there watching at 3 a.m., be it known that Jeff Corcoran has informed me that the only way I will be able to vote again is when one of you has to resign. Okay. I'm looking for any other things here. There's some stuff about the animal shelter. Just as a side note, there's a commissioner meeting tomorrow at 10. It sounds like from what I see in some of the things, there might be more animal people show up. I obviously can't be there. There's somebody that asked me to read a letter for him. I'm going to try to get somebody else to read it, but I can't. And but 10 o'clock tomorrow in the county building, which is like 101 East Main or something in Batavia. It's the big building across from UDF. 10 o'clock's the commissioner meeting. If you're hot on the animals, go there. Somebody had something about, I saw it here. Let me about Glenbeck, or Robin had something about Glenbeck, issue 1. You know, I don't deny that, but that's not the reason why we have a effing stupid handout that doesn't even make any sense. Okay. So it just befuddles me how bad the messaging is on these issues. And we keep losing every issue, right? The Republicans lose every issue so far. I hope we prevail on issue 1, but
we set up to fail. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's like, but they're not actually running much of a campaign. And it's extra confusing when both sides signs say basically the exact same thing. Vote yes, stop gerrymandering. Vote no, stop gerrymandering in there. So, okay, let's go. I apologize if I didn't look enough at the comments, but
I just noticed you put a post about Michael Logue speaking for Melissa Powers. I'm sure that they picked up a ton of
his
votes
speech from Clermont County, standing in front of his house.
Hopefully nobody from
if
Hamilton
you want to
County
see it, go look on my page. But Michael Logue talking about how we need to get Melissa Powers back in office, apparently not aware of what county he lives in. And the thing that strikes me as funny, and I know, is go listen to him talk, and he doesn't talk smoothly. It's like he has a slight disorder.
I have an idea. Maybe he needs to come to meetings and he'll know the candidates that belong to his county.
Well, that's true. Michael Logue never comes to
I don't
meetings.
see him speaking.
We'll see Michael Logue at a meeting again when it benefits Michael Logue.
In 3 years, because we had Friends of Liberty in Union Township. In the 3 years, this is no joke, even when we were supporting his campaign, the 3 years Friends of Liberty was together, he only came to one meeting. And he's probably saying, oh, that's not true. No, Mike, 100% true. And I know exactly what meeting it was. It was when I was working on Mike Gibbons' campaign, and I brought him in, and you wanted to meet him.
Of course.
I had a pre-meet. He came in, met with Mike, shook his hand, and says, I got to get home to the kids.
And I'm still waiting on the.
And I called Joe Dills
before we do our reenactment, or try to do a reenactment and call it a night. Remember, I got the audio of his phone call when his car got stolen, and he made a big deal out of it. So he made a big deal out of it in a trustee meeting. What does he expect? Well, I'm going to ask for the audio in the background on it. And I'm still waiting for the body cam video.
Here's the other thing. The worst thing about it, and I haven't shared this with a couple of people. You guys are getting something that I have not really shared with only a very select group. But we're going to put this out on the internet. When I was collecting money for Mike Walker's death, Mike Logue committed $100, and I put the money in for Mike because I had to get the money to Mike's family. Jeff Corcoran finally paid me after a lot of emailing, and I had 2 or 3 months later, I finally got Jeff's money. Still to this day, I never got Mike's money. Never. He never paid me for the money he committed for Mike Walker's the collection I took from Union Township, the Central Committee. Yeah. So, it's hard for me to feel bad for him because he's such a good Christian, and his church has opened up to accept alcohol. And I'm sorry, actions speak louder than words.
Sometime we could talk about on here how I think it's a red flag. We've never talked about this. Any politician that's bringing up their faith all the time and all that kind of stuff, that's a red flag.
Oh, yeah.
Those are normally the worst of the politicians.
Archie Wilson.
Linda Fraley, when they start bringing up their Christianity all the time, it becomes a.
I wasn't married to a politician, but I was married to a Christian who did that, and then he cheated on me. So there you are.
We got to get done here. Okay, so let's do these.
So Louisa, you got to be the good cop. Yeah, Louisa, you got to be the good cop. I haven't come in yet, so I'm out of the way here. I'm gonna.
Mr.
So I go what am I in here for?
Well, you've been accused of threatening Chris Hicks and his son. Can you please tell me a little bit about that?
There were these guys that came up to me and after the racing commissioner meeting in the elevator lobby, and said they were going to beat Chris's ass and his son's ass. Oh, but then again, I'm going to go real fast here, Louisa. So then again, oh no, that was in the headquarters, the Clermont County headquarters. Oh no, it was in front of the headquarters.
I'm sorry.
It was in front of the municipal court building. But there were definitely guys that came up to me and said they were going to beat Chris's ass.
So do you remember exactly where it took place? Can you tell me?
Well,
exactly
I think in front of the courthouse or the headquarters, or in front of the state house, or in the elevator lobby at the racing commission. Oh, do you guys have? Oh, you have pictures that you got of the elevator lobbies?
Yes.
And there was never anybody talking to me. Oh, so it definitely happened in front of the state house, or maybe it was in front of the courthouse, or maybe I was selling merchandise in the headquarters.
Well, can you?
But I didn't make anything up.
Can you please be specific? Can you be specific exactly who was it and where was it? Could you tell us that?
Guys.
I'm sorry.
Just some guys. They definitely came up to me though, and I'm only told because I don't want anything bad to happen to Chris or his son. That's the number one thing, is I don't want anything bad to happen to Chris or his son.
Mr. Simpson, look, we've pulled the video from the state, and you weren't around anyone. We have the video of the hallway. We have the video of the meeting. You actually didn't. You weren't talking to anybody. So would you like to explain where you actually heard this information? Sir, we know you're a liar. You're a liar, and we've got you. You're a liar.
Am I under arrest?
That's
What's
what you are. You're
here?
a liar.
Am I under arrest or what?
No, you're not under arrest. You're free to leave whenever you want, but you're a liar. Just know that you're a liar. You're a disgusting, terrible liar. You need
I'm
to
just trying to help Chris Hicks. That's why instead of telling Chris Hicks, I told people all around Chris Hicks that I thought would go tell him, but I didn't actually tell Chris Hicks. But I love Chris Hicks and didn't want anything bad to happen to him. But he should know that if he doesn't keep his mouth shut, he's going to get his ass kicked, because there's some guys that are going to kick his ass.
Well, can you tell us what they look like?
I can't remember. I don't know, like guys. It was men.
No,
a couple of them.
This is the part where he says, "I just was at the meeting and I overheard it." We're in the overhear territory. I just overheard the conversation.
So anybody that doesn't know what the hell we're doing or talking about, you can go watch the Greg Simpson video, and on my YouTube page is the easiest way. And there's a version with and without his face covered over, and he just lies and it's like, we have the audio, because that's the other thing too. You did a call with Andy Capel, and we have the audio, and what you're saying now is different than
that's right.
The audio. Remember that part? Like
that?
What are you talking about? It's different. I don't know. It probably wasn't me in the audio. We were there. You call, so it's,
it's
I'm
so
sorry
sad.
I didn't have the clip of it, but that is, and what happens and what's a disgrace? I can't speak for all of it, but the notion that in this county with our prosecutor, and I put it on the prosecutor, that politically connected people can lie their asses off in interviews with the CCSO, with the sheriff's office, and nothing's going to happen to them. Same thing happened around Jesse Kramig. People lie their asses off, nothing happens to them.
And that a chair of a Republican committee can actually represent an assailant against a victim and nothing happens.
It is so effed up that it is. And if I were the detectives, I would be so pissed off. And I tell them, I tell people that in the law enforcement community, they got to get some balls and just arrest the people and let the prosecutor drop the charges then. The sheriff can arrest the people. He doesn't have to have permission to arrest somebody.
We need to get a new county prosecutor. What are you talking about?
We need all of it. We need everybody to step up, because we got to fix this county. And I would say that the sheriff's office, you guys know this, and I don't know if they watch at night, but they're the tallest midgets. They're the best of the people. But man, if we could just get a couple people in there that would change the climate of this county, because I think there's a number of these people that would, I describe it, I want to bring us to a close here, but in any scenario, you have like a cowboy movie, the people that wear the black hats that are always bad, and the people that wear the white hats that are always good. And a lot of the people are the villagers in the middle, and they're going to kind of go to whatever side seems like it's going to win. And if we could just get some more white hats and get some people to step up, the reason why people like Mark Tekulve and these people have to constantly keep intimidating me and stuff like this is not because they're strong. It's because they're weak.
That's right.
Because as soon as the bubble breaks on the cronyism system that they perpetuate, that's why Linda Fraley needs to cry in meetings. It's not because she's some stellar auditor type. It's because they have to do the heartstrings. They have to do this. They have to do that. Because as soon as the worm turns, that's over for that.
Look, when you're pissing them off, it's because you're telling the truth and they don't like it. And that's the reason why they come after you, because you're pissing them off for being transparent.
Okay. I appreciate that, by the way.
You're welcome.
And so we've been going a long time here. Any other comments? We broke an hour here when we count the 5 minutes at the beginning.
We'll make it. I'll be on Channel 9 interviewing with them on the EIT levy tomorrow, so you can check that out. And then I think on maybe the next podcast we should dedicate some time on the school levies. You could do West Clermont. I could talk about Milford.
So, by the way, EIT means what? Earned income tax, and it's
earned income tax. Basically means
income tax for a school levy.
It basically means if you work or live in the city of Milford, they've legalized rape because they're
In
going
the
to take
Milford School
2% out of
District.
your check. In the
The
Milford School District,
right? So, by the way, I
If you're
agree
in the
with.
city of
I
Milford-
think that if we can do something on this sometime, I'm strongly in favor of income tax as a means to fund schools. But Milford,
Yeah, as long as you
why would
didn't
give
have
Milford
30
more money?
bonds.
Nobody should give Milford a penny.
That's right.
As long as
Right?
you don't have 30 bonds that you're still paying off.
Right.
And
Nobody should
I
give
mean,
Milford a
property
penny.
tax-
You know what I don't understand? Let me tell you what I don't understand. Why have we all of a sudden have a principal, a superintendent, and 20,000 assistant principals? Can someone
Well,
please
let's
explain
sometime
that?
talk about the whole system. I've told people before, and I want to get us closed here. You know, the entire state of Florida has like 88 school districts, and we have 611, and we have like 12 just in Clermont County. The amount of redundancy and overlap is unbelievable. And there's a ton of unaccountability that gets in there because nobody can keep track of what's going on in these places. There's so many of them. Like you have some big ones, but so any event, all right. Anything else before we call it a wrap? So Bill, you had yours. Louisa, what's yours?
We having a election day party to watch the votes come in at Bill Thomas's house on Tuesday, November the 5th. It starts at 8:00. If you want some more information and the address, you can go to my Facebook page, Louisa McQueen. I've posted on there. Everybody is welcome. Bill?
Even Jeff Corcoran.
You hear that, Linda Fraley? Jeff Corcoran? Everybody welcome. By the way, is the party having a election watching thing at the headquarters?
Yes.
Okay. So I strongly encourage Bill Thomas, okay? Send a message by flooding whatever the hell his house is or his pole barn or something. So many people, the cops have to come because there's so many people in cars. They can't believe how many people are showing up at Bill Thomas's house for an election.
So let everybody know.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
Yeah, I mean, because I can guarantee you, it wasn't that long ago. Bill Thomas and I are, can't stand each other, but I guarantee you, an election watching party at Bill Thomas's place is going to be more fun than anything at the headquarters.
Oh, absolutely! I'm going to be there.
So,
Flapjack Jeff and his
giving out, and you're going to be giving free haircuts, right?
Yep, like Bill's. There's the example.
Like Donald Trump's.
All
right.
Woman
I'm
and
going to
man.
bring us to a close. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody who hung in there watching. And we will be back.